welcome everybody to the leadership lessons from 2024 and what I feel, I guess, we need for 2025. So let me just share my screen. My name is 𝗟𝗲𝗶𝗹𝗶. For those of you that maybe are watching this online and don't yet know me, I am a leadership development trainer. I'm a speaker, I'm a coach, and I've put together this little, I guess, end of the year recap and looking forward into 2025 in terms of what I believe the organizations and industries need in terms of the leaders that are showing up within them. So just a little bit about me before we get going. I am a trainer of something called neuro-linguistic programming, NLP. I'm also an award-winning TEDx speaker. I'm a coach and I'm a facilitator. And I'm an author as well. Pleased to say I can start to use that title of this book, Leadership is a Skill, Transform Your Impact as a Leader. And this book comes out in February 2025. So I'm looking forward to sharing some of the insights from the book, some of the items that I cover from the many hundreds and thousands of people I've spoken to this year and trained in leadership development as well. And I work with all kinds of organizations. So I've got clients that include the computer games industry, so Wushu and Meta and Soul Assembly and Ubisoft, some brand names that people may well recognize there, all the way through to non-game industries. So the Harworth Group PLC, they're based near Sheffield. I've been doing a lot of work with them over the last 2 years, taking their teams through a leadership and management program. GE Electric, the Cabinet Office, Accor Hotel Groups, the NHS. So I've actually worked with a whole range and plethora of leaders through the different industries. And one of the things that kind of got me really interested in finding out more about leadership were some really stark stats that I found out that I just want to share with you today. So nearly 82% of managers stroke leaders, I kind of use the word interchangeably today, although I do feel they are slightly different. The 82% of managers have not had any formal, proper management or leadership training. Because quite often when people become a manager, oh, just look after so-and-so for a bit. Oh, we'll add a couple more people in. Or you're going to go from a junior to a mid to a senior level. So therefore, we feel that because you're good at your job, therefore you can delegate the task to a team to work with other people. So yeah, nearly 82% of people have never had any proper leadership and management training. Only 27% of people would describe their manager as highly effective. That's quite a stark stat, isn't it? A majority of people do not feel their manager is highly effective at doing their role as a manager. 49% of people have quit their job because the relationship with their boss or their manager went sour. And only 18% of people feel that they can trust their boss. Now, as trust is a big factor of psychological safety, as in we want to be able to turn up to work and feel that we're in a safe environment, that we can trust the people around us, that we can share ideas, that we can innovate, that we can try stuff. Only 18% of people feel that they're in that situation where they can be fully productive. So what are some of the things I've noticed in 2024? So I'm just going to share a few different areas. First one is navigating uncertainty and change. Because let's face it, a lot of different industries have had a lot of uncertainty over the last 12 months. And the only thing that is certain in life is that basically everything is uncertain. There's been instability in various different industries. Let's take the gaming industry, for instance. Yeah, over 16,000 redundancies in that one industry this year. That has gone through, having already gone through 2 or 3 years of instability with regards to funding and publishers and so forth. So there's a lot of instability in the gaming industry, but there's lots of instability in all sorts of other industries as well, not just the games industry. So as purses have been tightened, as people have been looking at efficiencies, as people are looking at technology, that's an interesting one, the adaptation of new technology, or sometimes not so new technology, because let's face it, AI is definitely a big buzzword, but it's not the new kid on the block. It's just more accessible with a greater depth of data than it's ever been made more available to us even now. So yeah, definitely there's a lot of uncertainty around new technology, around new processes, around new flows. And again, every time we go through some kind of technological engineering kind of revolution, there's often a lot of uncertainty, instability, and fear of change that happens as well. And of course, this constant need to be adaptable. It's like, oh, something's changing now. Another piece of software that I've got to do, another process, another procedure that I've got. Oh, you want me to do what as part of my job now as well? And that fatigue of change really starts to take effect to people. And I've definitely noticed that within the teams that I've been working with. So some of the things that you can start to do when instability is starting to happen is go, right, at the moment, what do I know? What can I control? Now, you'll all probably be very familiar with these circles of control graphic that I've got up here. So in the middle is your circle of control. What are the things that I can control? That I can have some kind of agency, that I can support my team with, that we know right now, at this moment in time, not all the stuff we're making up on our head about what might happen, and not all the stuff that has happened that we can't change. What can I control right now at this moment in time? And what can I support my team with right now at this moment in time? Now, outside of our control is probably things that we can influence, that we can impact. So this might be that you can manage upwards and have some kind of impact on the direction of your team or the direction of your sector, the direction of your business, if you're not at the head of the business. So there are some things that you can start to influence, but they're not directly inside your control. And of course, then you've got everything happening on the outside. You're concerned about it. It's happening within your industry. It's happening within your business, but you can't directly impact it. There's not a lot that you can do to control that at that moment in time. The only thing you can control is how you react to the stuff that is happening at that moment in time. And this is where having a growth mindset is so important. If people are very fixed, keep doing what they've always done, then therefore they really struggle when change and shift happens. So encouraging your team to have that growth mindset. Now, most teams will be very adaptable. They will have that growth mindset. They've got to have done to probably get into the industry, to get into the job role that they're doing. But sometimes people can still become very fixed or fixated on particular aspects as well. So it's just encouraging them to have that growth mindset moving forward. And the other thing that happens around change is this model called SCARF, which is a really interesting one. So SCARF stands for status, certainty, autonomy, relatedness, and fairness. So when big changes are happening, I actually might get a bit of a threat response, a bit of a trigger, if I feel that my status within the hierarchy of the business that I'm in, within the role that I do, with my identity as being like X person within X industry, if I feel that that status is going to get changed, I might get made redundant, something might happen, then I'm immediately going to get a bit of a fear response. That creates instability for me. If I'm not sure what's going to happen, like, oh, we're moving offices or something's changing, or all of a sudden, things are a bit uncertain, that lack of certainty can create a threat response. As humans, we like, so, I'm going to get up this morning, I'm going to sit at my desk and go do these tasks from this list, and okay, other stuff will come along, that's fine. But I generally know what I'm going to do. I can look at my diary, I've got some form of certainty. But if everything starts to change, and everything starts to get affected, then all of a sudden, now I'm a bit uncertain. I don't know what's going to happen moving forward. So that can create a fear response. Autonomy. If somebody's telling me what to do all the time and I don't get to control that, that creates a fear response. And then relatedness. If I'm feeling like I'm part of a team, then that's great. I know where I am as part of that team. I know that I can reach out to people. But if I start to get sidelined or feel a bit siloed or left out of a group, or maybe I'm working remotely and people haven't been working quite so hard to keep those connections going, then I might not feel quite so related. So again, that can create instability. And the F is fairness. Is something fair? Is what's happening to me the same as what's happening to everybody else in the business or in the industry? If I feel that something's fair, I might not like it, but at least I can, it's happening to everybody. Hang on a minute, why is this happening to me and it's not happening to them? That's where that lack of fairness starts to kick in. By the way, this isn't this kind of scarf that we're much more familiar with at this time of the year as well. New tech and having to constantly be adaptable is a big change. Know that for you and for the team, learning takes time. It takes time to get good at stuff. It takes time to adapt to a new system, to a new process. So don't expect your team and yourself to be as efficient, to be as effective when stuff is happening and changing. Be that a process, a procedure, the first few times, the first several times, first dozens of times you do something, you'll be slower at it than 1 month, 6 months, 12 months down the line. Just think about something that you just do now that you didn't even know you could do 12 months ago. And I bet you're probably much better and quicker at doing that because you've taken the time, you've gone through that process of learning. Learning goes through 4 steps. You start off unconsciously incompetent, like you don't know what you don't know. You become consciously incompetent. You're doing it, but you're rubbish at it. To become consciously competent, you do it, you're thinking about it, and you're achieving the goal. And then you become unconsciously competent. You just do it. Everything you've ever learned will have gone through those 4 stages and steps. So yeah, new tech, being adaptable, that all takes time. You've got to operate, you've got to go through operational changes, you've got to go through the emotional fallout of those changes. There can be grief that can happen within the team. And I've definitely seen this, as team members have been made redundant. People go through a grief process. Oh, I knew so-and-so. We worked here at the same time and now they've gone. What does that mean to me? And there's all the scarf stuff starts to kick in. Does that mean there's a problem with the business? And so on and so forth. People's heads just spiral out of control. That lack of trust, that lack of uncertainty as well. And adaptability isn't about just reacting, it's about preparing your team and your organization for the inevitability of change as well. Rebuilding trust and psychological safety are really important. I've seen a lot of organizations that have, I could do with so much time rebuilding that trust and psychological safety. Do your teams really trust you as the leader? Do you really trust your boss? Could you tell them absolutely anything and everything? Or if you did, would that affect maybe your perception of your job prospects? Could you tell the C-suite everything? I know some organizations, some businesses where they feel, they're up there and they're, working away, doing their thing. They're too busy. They don't want to hear about my stuff. I couldn't tell them these things, even though this stuff's happening that I'm uncomfortable with. I couldn't go to the higher bosses about that. So you've got to start noticing, where does conflict show up? Often it's in the little micro behaviors, the little not talking to so-and-so, not showing up, the little bits of arguments that happen, the not supporting each other, the inattention to the results, all the other dysfunctions of a team that can appear as well. It's not really my thing, it's their thing, rather than everybody pulling together and working together. And also, does drama happen? Are people feeling like they're being hard done by? Are people getting angry and annoyed and trying to constantly win situations? Or have you got loads of people in there always trying to rescue? You've got to be aware if drama's happening as well. Are your team able to take risks? Try things that are a bit innovative. Fail. We learn through failure. Failure is a really important part. Are your team able to fail? And how open are you to, being and expecting your team to be able to trust as well? Now, again, what are some of the things you can do to get beyond drama? Well, psychological safety is absolutely the thing that will create high-performing teams, especially during those turbulent times. Leaders who ask questions, listen, respond without creating judgment, and have an environment where teams can be innovative and engaging with what's happening, they're the ones that perform really well, because failure and trying things out and going for stuff is just a natural part of the learning process. And that psychological safety is the foundation of high-performing teams. You want your team to feel well, to do well, for well-being to be at the heart of it. They've got to be able to trust themselves, the people around them, and the business to have their back. If that trust isn't there, your teams will not be performing at their best. And the last part of what I've noticed in terms of this year, certainly, and this is why I call my book this, it's basically leadership is a skill, not just a position. People want more from their leaders. They want their leaders to be able to step up and go up to that next stage. Are the team really empowered to make decisions for themselves? Are they being micromanaged? Or at the other end of the spectrum, is their leader in such trust mode they don't even know who their line manager is right now? Who am I supposed to go to for advice? I never see so-and-so. They're so trusting of what I do that I never even see them. Is there a lack of transparency or a lack of communication? Are people not being told stuff because they're there's a concern that it might upset them or it might worry them. But the problem is they probably already picked that this stuff is happening. So they're now even more concerned that they're not being told what is happening and why it might be happening. And the other thing that happens as well is you get a lot of telling and not enough coaching. Help people by being able to get them to solve their stuff rather than constantly telling them what to do. The people that work with you, the people that work for you are not your kids. They don't need telling what to do. And even with kids, we don't tell them what to do all the time. Maybe if they don't know how to do something, you might teach somebody and tell them. But ultimately, you want to support them so that you can then end up trusting them. That's the phase of leadership that you kind of want to get and to go through. And leadership is about, behavior and skills, not just where do you sit within the hierarchy of the business. So build that across the whole business, invest in leadership and those professional skills. Professional skills development is not just for leaders and managers in the organization. The piece of work that I've done with 𝗟𝗲𝗶𝗹𝗍 this year has been about investing in people that even don't necessarily have direct line management skill, but they are professionals in an expert-based business where they need to still be able to delegate tasks, have difficult conversations, let go of stuff if it's been frustrating, look at their professional persona and how they show up. All of these things are important skills. The ability to be able to stand up in a meeting and give the best version of themselves. Such important things for people and leaders to be able to develop as well. And the most effective team members are able to coach and empower others, not just wait for the manager to do it. So build your leaders to help your team to be able to deliver that coaching approach. Which kind of leads me on to where do I think we should be going for 2025? Well, I think partly it's going to be a bit of a rebuilding and redefining, particularly in industries like the computer games industry. So redundancies and resource constraints have left teams a lot leaner. They are now starting to rely a lot more on technology. They're having to make do with fewer people, either because haven't been able to find the right people or because the funding hasn't been there. So rebuilding those teams that have gone through upheaval, where they feel like they don't quite have that trust, that psychological safety isn't quite there, some time needs to be spent on rebuilding those teams and also redefining what is success. Where are we going as a team now with the resources that we have? Okay, this is what we planned for 23, 24, but this is where we are in 25. So bearing in mind the state of the economy, if that affects your business in a particular way, bearing in mind the state of how much money people have to be able to spend on the things that you provide, bearing in mind the constraints of government, of industry, of whatever it happens to be, what can you now do to start to redefine that? I find so many teams wanting to have away days and start refocusing on this stuff. And the start of the year is a really good way to rebuild the trust and redefine the success. So spend that time with your team. Don't just hit January with, oh, we'll just carry on with where we were. Do a start of the year, redefine. How do we want to, how are we going to be successful with each other? Yeah, for this team to be working at its best, it's like what? And for that to happen, I need to be like what? What do I need from other people in the team? Like spend some time doing that stuff. Get a facilitator in, to facilitate those kind of sessions. I've found so much time has been spent just getting on with the doing and not stepping back and rebuilding that trust and redefining the direction that everybody's going in. So please spend some time with the team at the start of 2025 doing that. It's really important. And get the team involved with every aspect of what's next. Rather than just being directional from up top, get the team involved. Yeah. Because if the team are motivated because they're getting something personally or professionally that raises their status, that gets them more involved, that gives them more autonomy, that creates that buy-in from the team members, of course, they'll feel much more that they want to help and motivate. Not just because they're getting paid to do X number of hours, but because they can see what's in it for them. That isn't just the money. Lots of people are motivated by more than just their salary. It's by the sense of what they build, of the working together, of working in a team that supports them, that they can be in an environment that's useful and fantastic. It is not just about the money or the 3 chocolates and the cans of drink that you've got available in the fridge. There's a lot more that motivates people. So getting people involved on that aspect of what's next is really important. And the future belongs to leaders who can rebuild that and keep the hope and the focus on where it is, what's the direction of the team. And how can you get creative? Solve complex problems that need to be solved. Get input from other people. They worked in so many different areas, so many different industries, so many different places, that you have that ability to be able to tap into the other people around you as well. And create structures that enable everybody to be heard. Yeah. Make sure that there is time for people to be able to input their ideas, to be able to put stuff forward at meetings, that stuff is not just about the task-based things, but it's also about the direction of travel as well. I think it's also really important to keep investing in people. People are your most precious resource. So invest in people. Yeah, not just with technical competence, but the emotional intelligence, the people skill stuff. Yeah, that creates that diverse and dispersed teams and lots of different things. So upskilling and reskilling them. Yeah. What are the skills that they need to be able to adapt to new roles or new technologies? How can they keep that growth mindset? How can they learn more about themselves, their own emotional intelligence, their own communication skills, their own ability to be able to step up and lead? Noticing the things that have been holding them back that they'd love to just shape and change. And then inclusion and belonging. When people feel included, they feel a sense of belonging, that they're working in a diverse place, that inclusivity is key because they're getting lots of different inputs from lots of different people. So make everybody feel valued, that they feel included, no matter what level that they're at. There's always something that people can be inputting into the work that's coming within the team as well. A few practical tips, in terms of investing in people. Yeah, skill development, getting people involved, going on courses, running workshops, things that up people's skills, no matter what that happens to be. That might be communication skills, feedback skills, the ability to run good performance reviews. There's all sorts of things that you can do, little micro sessions. It does not have to be a big development program that you're running, that takes days out of the month. Just small snippets, hour and a half here, half day here, that can make a big difference for the practical skills. Also make sure that you're prioritizing well-being, but not just like 1 week in the month or during the well-being sessions or the specific days allocated to something that you're celebrating. Make well-being a part of it. When people feel well, they show up well. So just make sure that you prioritize well-being for yourself and for your team members as well. And what can you do to grow people's coaching and mentoring skills? The ability for people to be able to learn how to do stuff for themselves is really important. You keep telling what you want them to do, they'll just keep relying on you to help them to do it, to help people to build up their coaching skill set as well. And the last part for 2025, how can you make sure you keep scaling your leadership impact? Because what you want to do is shift from being a manager to a multiplier. Because if you're delegating and delegating with purpose, with intention, you can do so much more than just your ability to be able to do something. Relying on the team, relying on the support. Many of you experienced leaders out here will be great at delegating, but others really struggle with delegating. Delegating, whenever I do sort of pre-session feedback, it's always the lowest of the skill sets in terms of professional skill sets. And it's often, once they've come out the other end of the course, the one that's had the biggest change, 30, 40% uplift in people's ability to be able to delegate. Because remember, by delegating, not only are you getting somebody else to do the task, but somebody else is then learning something by the process of doing that task. The key thing with delegating is, what is it you want them to do? Why is it important they do it? And when do you need it by? And what if they've got questions? Where do they come to for advice? What's the best time to get hold of you, etc. But what you really shouldn't be telling people with delegation is how. You want them to go and develop the how. The reason you know how to do something is because you tried it out, you failed at it. You got it right, you got it wrong, you got told how to do it, and you tried it yourself. You got better at it, you went through those 4 layers of learning. Let other people develop their how. That's the art of delegating. And it's also got to be enough within their competence that it isn't too far out their comfort zone, that it's just impossible for them to be able to manage as well. So it's got to be the right task to the right person and defined in the right way as well. But yeah, you should delegate outcomes. What is it you're looking to achieve, not just the specific steps that you want people to follow as well. And then develop good decision makers. How can people think critically about stuff that's going on? How can they make decisions without constantly having to come back to you to check every single thing? Because it doesn't just free up your time physically, it frees up your time mentally. You just know that, right, I'd like you to go and get X done, right? And I'm going to rely on you because the relationship that we've got, because the trust that's there, that if you've got an issue, you'll come to me and you'll ask me questions about it. If you're not sure of something, you'll come to me. We'll have little check-ins along the way to make sure that it's taking the direction I'm thinking along with the one that you're thinking as well, just to make sure that we get rid of all the ambiguity that we can. But yeah, develop good decision makers, and that really allows people to kind of upskill themselves as well as provide you with that support as well. And systems are really important from this perspective as well. Good, clear frameworks for decision making, communication, resolving conflicts. Yeah. Make sure that that's consistent as your organization, as your studio, as your business grows. Those frameworks are really important, so people are consistent in their approach. And then give people the tools, the guidance to solve problems themselves. Yeah, you're a resource, not a bottleneck. Yeah, you're a resource, not somebody that has to tell everybody every single step along the way as well. And then that allows you to spend less time managing tasks and more time being strategic as a leader, as a manager. So that means that you can align your stuff to the long-term goals of the business. That's it. I can't believe that half an hour has zipped by. As I mentioned, my book is out in February. Hopefully there's been some insightful little nuggets in here. I'm going to go to the chat and open it up for anybody that wants to ask any questions in a minute. If you want to win a copy of my book, which comes out, like I say, February 2025, and get free coaching, then please just zap the QR code there. I'll put a link in the copy that goes out with the slides as well. And you also get first few chapters. A couple of people on the call today have already done some proofing of the book and provided some praise for it. So thank you to those that have joined me here for that. And yeah, if you've got any other questions or you want to connect with me on LinkedIn or get in contact and speak about how can I support you to support your teams in 2025, then please do get in touch. But we have reached the half an hour mark on the timings. So yeah, anybody got any questions, any insights, anything that anybody would like to share from those that are attending the live session? And if you've got any questions or any insights that you want to share with me separately for those watching the recording, so I know a number of people registered and they're going to watch the recording later, then please pop them on an email and send them over to me. Cool, nothing from you, Samantha, but thanks so much. Cool. Rihanna, you've asked what are the most surprising leadership challenges or trends from 2024 that you think leaders are unprepared for, and how can you better anticipate surprises in 2025? Yeah, that is a interesting question. I'm going to just unmute the. You should be able to unmute yourself now, Rihanna.
Got it.
Excellent. Wow. Yeah.
I mean, you know, I'm in HR, and so
Yeah.
it's like, oh, some of the managers just drive me crazy, and I get what you're saying, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's seeing the emergence of tech, seeing the emergence of things that people feel threatened by. I went to an AI leaders forum about 5-6 weeks ago. Yeah, so Samantha's in the same position. So yeah, she feels you there. And this stuff's been around for a long time, you know, and it's there to help make roles easier, to be able to provide insights into things, to be able to make tasks quicker. If we can utilize and jump on the technology, jump on the onto the trends to get what's in it for me, rather than what do I need to fear from this. I think that's a big part of it. One of my talks where I talk about handling change, I share the Chinese proverb of when the winds of change blows, some people build walls and others build windmills. So it's often about people hanker down behind a wall because they fear the unknown part of it. To make the unknown known, what can you do to go, right, this is happening? Whether it's something that's inside my circle of control or my influence, yeah, or it's just happening, Like, what can I do with what's happening to then make the most of that?
Mm.
And sometimes that takes the ability to be able to step back. Maybe you might need coaching because you're too much in drama to be able to think clearly. But yeah, I think looking at stuff that's coming through and going, right, what can I build with it? What can I make with it? Rather than how can I fear or how can I avoid it? I think is a big part of how people can get onto trends. Yeah, from that perspective. And for me, that's growth mindset, that's self-awareness, that's emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
That's all of those things that create better leaders.
There's one thing that, and I found it was a trend this year, not so much previous year. It's almost like they want to be the bearer of bad news, but that's part of the leadership role.
Yeah.
And then they expect me to be the bad cop and be the bearer of the bad news. And I'm like, no, no, no. Let's see how we can coach you through this to be the one to deliver that news.
Yeah. Yeah, because people don't want to be attached to the news. Yeah, they then become part of the news. And also, let's face it, without enough skill, you can also have a big effect on the way that somebody responds to something. So I spoke about this earlier in the year with Phil, who was on this call earlier. We talked about around the thing of redundancy. Because if you say to somebody, you have been made redundant, they can take it like it's part of them and their identity. Like they as a person have been made redundant. And that's very different to saying your role has been made redundant. Now, of course, the outcome is the same, as in that person's not going to be working at that job, but the delivery of the bad news and teaching people how to deliver it well and how to maybe step into the shoes of the other person and what might be happening for them and all of those things in advance of delivering some bad news is really important as well. So I think there's definitely an art form to doing that. And I wonder if they go, oh, you must be good at it because you do HR and you get to do all the good stuff. You get to hire the people and fire the people.
Yeah. No, I write these scripts for them now. And it's exactly what you said about it's the role that's being made redundant and not the person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think those are the key parts in terms of just having that perception of what power the words have. And I know that you know this because you've also studied NLP yourself. The words can have great impact.
Yeah. But thank you for that.
Yeah, no problem at all. Cool. A couple of people have jumped off because they had other calls. Otherwise, I don't see anything else in the chat. So thank you so much to everybody who showed up today, took part. I hope you got some insights and some interesting stuff from that as well. After we've all had a break and a holiday, hopefully, you get that opportunity too. I look forward to reconnecting with you back in 2025.